Blog Talk Radio.
College football fans, what's going on out there? It was a wild one this week. Welcome to another edition of Quick Slants, brought to you by War Room Sports. I'm your show's moderator. I'm Devin McMillan, but I'm here with the star of the show. We got Fred Perdue in the building. Fred, have you caught your breath yet from this weekend?
Man, the weekend was crazy. But before we get into it, I got to throw a yellow flag on you, Coach. I got to throw it on you. 15 yards on the play, unsportsmanlike conduct. You got to do something about that.
Doubt about it. All right, so yeah, it got wild. The new college football playoff rankings are out. We're going to get to that a little bit later in the show, but we're going to get to a few things real quick, and we're going to let you know why the college football rankings changed. But we'll get to all of that in just a minute. So let's jump right into the action, Fred. First things first, we got to take care. We got to do a little bit of house cleaning. There were some stories that went on, that are going on this week after a wild week of college football action. And the first one we're going to start with is Mack Brown. He's a coach again. He's headed back to UNC. What's your thoughts on that one? And Les Miles got a job too, from what I hear.
Yeah, Les Miles at Kansas. Not huge on that one. I mean, enjoy. We'll see this. We'll see that kind of thing over with in 3 to 5 years. I mean, he just can't. He's not going to be able. He's not going to be able to recruit or relate to those kids. It's Kansas. They've only been good, I don't know, one time in my lifetime. I mean, Dale Sayers isn't walking through the door anymore. So, but Mack Brown, one of the best coaches of my lifetime, at least. I remember him at Texas. I wasn't the college football savant that I am now. I wasn't even around when he was when he first became a head coach at UNC in 1988. Still kind of swimming around in there, but I'll leave that for another day. But up until 97, where he left UNC. It wasn't a great time at UNC, but it was a rebuilding project. It's 21 years now that he's been gone. He's coming back. This resurgence of old coaches from way back in the late 90s, early 2000s, back into coaching, I don't know if I really like this. I mean, Les Miles is kind of still in it, but Mack Brown, stay at ESPN, dude. I mean, even in the NFL, John Gruden should have stayed in the booth. Even Butch Davis.
It's a whole new game now from when these guys were, doing their best work.
Completely different game. Even Butch Davis down at FIU, lowly FIU. He wanted to get back down to Miami, I guess, so bad he takes the next best option, I guess. But it's crazy to see him come back. I mean, he got a 5-year deal. Now, granted, the numbers are crazy, and this is why we say give these kids a little bit of cash, because a 5-year deal, $750,000 base salary, $2 million in supplemental compensation for whatever that means, $200,000 from Nike, and just to wear the swag. I'd wear this. Nah, I'm not gonna wear that swag for free. But you can send Nike if you want to send me something. You know where to find me. $50,000 in general expenses every year, and $500,000 per year in personal services from multimedia rights holder Learfield. So you have a lot to deal with there. Exactly. I mean, Mack Brown, ESPN not giving you the kind of cash you need. I mean, that's huge. That is huge.
All right. Well, there were some more coaching changes. Cliff Kingsbury is out at Texas Tech.
Yeah, Cliff Kingsbury wasn't. I remember him at Texas A&M as the offensive coordinator for coaching up Johnny Manziel. One of the best times of my life in college football. That was the most exciting quarterback I've ever seen. If you don't believe me, go ahead and at me. You're the best guy. But I'd be hard-pressed to find another one. 39 years old, 35-40 record in 6 seasons. Also coached up Pat Mahomes, who's killing it in the NFL. So he has a good track record as far as college quarterbacks. And he's 500 guys as far as putting NFL guys out. He'll find his way somewhere as an offensive coordinator somewhere. Give Mark Richt a call, please.
All right. USC fires their offensive coordinator, T. Martin.
This one doesn't make any sense to me. You keep Clay Helton, but you fire your offensive coordinator in T. Martin. Lynn Swann is one of those loyal guys, probably to a few folks out there. It just doesn't make sense to me that you fire a lot of the staff, but you keep the problem. The problem is Clay Helton. He hasn't innovated his offense. They're not recruiting at the level that they used to recruit. Us old heads, we remember the Reggie Bush days. We remember the Ricky Bell days, and we remember long before USC had fallen off a cliff. I mean, even the Mark Sanchez days were not too bad, but now it's just not so great at USC. And I've actually started looking at it like this: USC is the West Coast version of Miami. Both teams fell because of scandal. Were at the top of their game. Were the premier brands in college football. And ever since, they just keep struggling to get back. 9 wins, 8 wins, struggling in recruiting. Everybody's cherry-picking their guys that they normally get. I'm not calling nobody out or nothing, but maybe the best days are over.
Sounds like it. All right, so let's go on to some other stuff. UCF quarterback Mackenzie Hilton. Can we get an injury update on him?
Yeah, Mackenzie Milton had a very, very ugly injury. Late in the game, they were up pretty big, but UCF struggled early against USF in the war on I-4. Suffered nerve damage to his leg, but the nerve is back intact. The blood flow has been restored, but he's going to have reconstructive surgery to his right knee. Up until so far throughout his career, 8,500 yards, 71 touchdowns, only 21 picks. Had a pretty good career and had his team going in the right direction. 24 straight wins in the last 2 seasons. May have had an outside shot, probably not. But I mean, you have to kind of consider him. I guess I'm not a big advocate of this, but he had them in the right direction. Possibly if they got a little help getting into the playoff. But now. It looks very, very bleak. It looks very bleak. You got a freshman quarterback out there. They're going to be run heavy, very run heavy. We're going up against a Memphis team who was pretty good and gave them all they wanted over there.
All right. Well, Rashawn Gary, defensive lineman from Michigan, declares for the NFL. He's taking his talents to the pros.
3 years later, what took so long? This kid's I remember when he was just a big-time college recruit out of the New Jersey area. We knew he's one of those guys. I rarely say it, that you just know he's going to be gone in 3 years. Ed Oliver, Jadeveon Clowney, even a Khalil Mack, maybe just Adrian Peterson. There are very few guys like this, but when you're like 6'4", 260, you run a 4'5", 4'6", and you have great hands, and you're starting as a freshman because you're the number 1 college recruit in the country, and you leave cold country to go to more cold country. You're going to Michigan. You're probably going to be that guy. He's going to probably be a top 10 pick. He can play up and down the line of scrimmage. He's going to get after quarterbacks for a long time. And he's a good character kid, so that's one of the best things I always take away from a lot of these guys. What are they like off the field? He's going to be a good one. Can't wait to see him in the NFL.
All right. We all know Rivalry Weekend just passed. Because of Rivalry Weekend,
say that 10 times really
we're going to have, I know, can't say that a bunch of times. We're going to have some new faces here in the college football rankings, but what are some of the wild finishes that you can recall from this past weekend?
Well, I think Oklahoma and West Virginia left their defenses at home, or they were doing their best Rams-Chiefs impression. That game was crazy, just absolutely nuts. I mean, Kyler Murray is just a maestro with the football, and Will Greer isn't too bad himself. But one of the games I took away was was LSU Texas A&M, where I saw a basketball score for the first time in my life. I always say basketball scores, they're always on the low end of like 45, 48, 51, 54, something crazy like that.
Yeah,
but
this was literally college basketball.
Literally a college basketball score. I'm interested to see if Texas A&M and LSU basketball teams will try to one-up the football teams, and if they don't, maybe you might want to go recruit some of the football players. Just saying. But that game was crazy, and one of the crazy things, that game should have been over in the fourth quarter, but refs made a mistake. You got to clean it up, guys. But one of the best games as far as just crazy overtimes. I remember a couple years ago when Justin Herbert at Oregon was a freshman. I remember, and I still resent Oregon and Cal for this. I was up until 3 a.m. watching that game. That was one of the longest games I'd ever watched. 3 overtime, but 3 overtime, just crazy shootout. This one went 7 overtimes, and I watched every bit of it. And quite honestly, this one went into the wee hours of the night. But luckily, I was watching little Boise State, Utah State. I'm committed, real committed. But this was a crazy one. Found some very special players in this one. So, but that was one of the crazier ones. Michigan, Ohio State. That was a runaway from late in the game. Michigan just looked like they were they just were running at a different speed. Ohio State they looked like they were like an SEC team playing up against like a Big Ten team. That's what it looked like. The speed Ohio State had, man, it was crazy. So that one, Florida State was crazy. Florida, one of their linebackers actually pointed over to Florida State and said, "Guys, you got 10 guys on the field. You might want to get an extra guy." So some of the craziest things you'll ever see in rivalry games. And by the way, the trophies are awesome. All
right. So I don't know if I'm still having some tech difficulties, but I'll try to keep mine. I'll try to keep my stuff short so I don't mess with the audio here. But the college football playoff rankings for this week have been announced. And we have Alabama and Clemson at 1 and 2, Notre Dame at 3, and Georgia now enters the field at number 4. Ohio State has moved up to 6 after what they did to Michigan. What are your thoughts on the rankings?
Number 1 and 2, not even a question. We're not even worried about it. Number 3 is where we get a little iffy. Notre Dame, you struggled mightily against a very bad USC team. You guys are soft. You guys are very soft. Typical Notre Dame. I'm not surprised. In the biggest of games, in a rivalry game, that cliche, throw all the records out the window. Well, they were trying to throw their undefeated record out the window too. But they survived that one. But they have to watch from the sidelines now because they are not in a conference. So they have to hope Georgia, Alabama in the SEC title game isn't an all-timer like we saw in the national championship. And then you got to hope maybe Ohio State doesn't jump you, or maybe an Oklahoma might not jump you in a rematch of Texas-Oklahoma. UCF still kind of looms, but they'll have to really put on a ridiculous show, and even then they'll need a little bit of help. So those guys are all those are the teams for me. Those are the only real possibilities. The one team, the matchup I'm really going to be interested to kind of dive into is that Alabama-Georgia game. And Clemson's not out the woods yet. They still have to play a Pitt team who Miami just ran straight through. So I'm not really that worried, but it's college football. Anything can happen.
All right, yeah, well, I think the biggest shock of the weekend for most people was it was not just that Ohio State beat Michigan, because I think, I don't think it was too much of a shock that they could win that game. I just think it's the way that they handled them, how many points that they scored. But, that shook up the whole bottom half of the college football playoff rankings. Gets Ohio State into the mix. Real quick before we go into the pick'em for the week, what do you think would have to happen for Ohio State to jump over Oklahoma and somehow get into this 4?
To get in, you'd have to. Here's the crazy part about this. You're going to possibly see a little bit of a revisionist history from last year. If Alabama, Georgia is a close game, like maybe 3 points or less, and if it goes into overtime because it's just that good of a game, you have to. There's no way you can drop Georgia or Alabama. You can't drop Alabama out of this thing. Notre Dame could drop even being undefeated because their schedule just isn't all that great after you really go back and look at it. Who have they really played? Virginia Tech, nah. Pitt, nah. Florida State, not so great. USC, these are all great names, but they haven't really beaten anybody. So they would be the team I would drop out of this, regardless of being 12-0. Oklahoma would have to blow Texas out, especially after losing to Texas earlier in the season. And Ohio State, they would have to just run roughshod which is expected, over a hefty Northwestern team. Georgia, those 3 teams are going to really make people. This is that year. You know how we keep saying we want an 18 playoff? This might be the year where you say, maybe if we had that 18 playoff, we wouldn't have to. We'll be put in this situation. And on top of that, you get UCF in because you know how they feel. They want Bama. At least they think they want that smoke. I don't think they want it.
They don't really want Bama. All right. So we'll see what happens with that. But, I love movement in this whole thing, man. So I hope something else happens to shock the college football world so we can get some more movement. But let's get into the college pick'em for this particular week. And if you're in our college pick'em group on ESPN.com, hey, we're going down the stretch here. So everybody get your best picks in. You might want to listen, catch some of these gems before you make your picks. But we're going to start out with a top 25 alert. We got number 9, Texas, visiting number 5, Oklahoma.
Before I jump into this one, I'm mathematically out of this one, so I'll recuse myself. But I'm rooting for you, dude. You're only 3 games out. Make these count. Make them count. We got to uncover this guy. But Oklahoma, Texas is going to be a barn burner because, see, Texas, they got up on Oklahoma earlier in the year, and that's the one thing Oklahoma can't have. Their defense has been just atrocious down the stretch. It's the Kyler Murray show or nothing at all. And if you are relying on that to happen again and again, at some point it's going to come back to bite you. Oklahoma is allowing almost 600 yards of total offense per game, 583 yards to be exact. Texas is moved. Yeah, Texas is almost they're about 150 yards shy of that now per game. So they're not. But the thing is, the one thing I've always said is yards and all these other stats, they don't mean points. You have to score, and that's the one thing Oklahoma does really well. It's just having to come back from 17 or 21 points. You can't do that. Kyler Murray is going to put an imprint on this one. I'm just going to call this one. I'll be nice since I'm out of this one. I'm calling this one now. Oklahoma wins this one, and Kyler Murray puts his stamp on the rest of the season. Maybe gets a chance to unseat my guy Tua Tagovailoa as the Heisman front runner and gives his team a chance to get into the playoffs.
All right, we got Louisiana Lafayette versus Appalachian State.
Appalachian State, this same Appalachian State team gives teams problems. I know we remember going back earlier in the year, they gave Penn State all of what they want. And they have really been pretty good this year, knocking off teams like Troy, knocking off Texas State to the point that Texas State fired their head coach. But at the other end of things, Louisiana Lafayette can move the ball as well. I'm expecting in this one a lot of points. This is one of those, and it's not from the Louisiana side. Appalachian State moves the ball up and down the field. They're going to be running the ball very heavy. Expect to see Darrison Evans, the running back at Appalachian State, to cross over to that 1,000-yard mark. Good to see that. Give me App State in this one. 17 points, by 17.
All right, we got Marshall going up against the Virginia Tech Hokies, coming off of, I believe, their 15th straight win over Virginia. They need to stop trying to call that a rivalry. But you got Marshall versus Virginia Tech. Who you got?
Well, the last time these guys played, Virginia Tech caught an L to Marshall. Marshall's one of those teams that gives Virginia Tech this crazy problem. Virginia Tech lost their quarterback early. By the way, has a Kansas transfer running the offense, but really being able to run the ball really well. Steven Peoples is one of those guys that can, when he gets in open space, he can make a guy miss. But I want to see from this. I want to see Tyree Brady. If you Miami fans remember, he's a Miami Hurricanes transfer. Almost 890 yards, 9 touchdowns. Maybe he crosses that 1,000-yard mark. I'm not calling this upset. I'm just not brave enough to do it. Give me Virginia Tech, 21-20.
All right, and we got University Alabama Birmingham, not the real Bama, but UAB versus Middle Tennessee.
Middle Tennessee State can move the ball on anyone, and they will be moving the ball early. I'm taking Middle Tennessee State to win this one. UAB, really good season so far. If it were maybe some of those coming back woes, maybe they might be a little bit better. But being able to have a chance at a championship after a couple years of being back, pretty good. Give me Middle Tennessee State,
All right.
24-21.
All right, we got Stanford versus Cal.
Ew. This is the game. The band is on the field. That's what we remember this game for. Stanford just is not. And we couldn't get the the Pac-12 championship game in there. We could instead we get the mediocre bowl. Great, that's fine. Stanford just has not been what we expected them to be, quarterback wise. Just not. KJ Costello has not lived up to the hype of a few years ago being the top quarterback in the country. But Bryce Love has also been very lackluster. Cal's a very, very well-coached team, not terrible under Justin Wilcox in his first year. Want to see how that secondary works. This is going to be an ugly game. Stanford plays it ugly every single week. Stanford's going to win this one. It'll be close. Can we get the band on the field one more time just to end it in revisionist history? Maybe.
All right. We got Memphis versus UCF. Number 7,
now
UCF.
This one's going to be good, and I'm calling upset special. Upset special.
Uh-oh.
Ring the alarm, upset special. The last time these two faced off, Memphis gave UCF everything they wanted, and guess what? That was with Mackenzie Milton. Well, guess what? Mackenzie Milton's not playing in this game, so this is going to be a very, very, very tough game for them. I'm going with the Tigers. These teams are going to score points in droves. Memphis moves the ball like crazy. They just run a up-tempo system, 530 yards a game. They've given everybody that work except a Mizzou team who just put 65 on them, but everybody else. I mean, they've dropped 52 on Houston, also dropped 47 on Tulsa, 59 on East Carolina. While UCF, they've had a little bit of a struggle. They had a little bit of a struggle with Temple, also struggled with Navy, and USF gave them a bit of a struggle with Mackenzie Milton. Neither team could really move the ball early. It was one of those, the game just kept, UCF just kept scoring, and USF could not keep up down the stretch due to their ineptitude on offense. But UCF is going to have to run the ball a lot, make this game ugly. You will not see a ton of airing it out like they normally do. But give me Memphis to upset in this one.
All right. Now this next one, this could be a college football playoff shifter, no matter how it goes. We got number 1 Alabama versus number 4 Georgia.
Tua Tagovailoa, my Heisman candidate, and pretty much the winner of this thing. He's been magnificent all season, 36 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. 3,100 yards through the air. He'll be increasing that one. Damian Harris is going to make some team really happy in the NFL a few years from now. And Jerry Jeudy is a sophomore, over 1,000 yards already, 11 touchdowns. Alabama's a 2-touchdown favorite in this one. Tua hasn't really had to play in the second half of these things. Jake Fromm hasn't looked sharp, very, very sharp, but these teams are mirror images of themselves on the defensive side, and that's where you're going to want to watch this game. If you like defense, he's Kirby Smart. He's the former defensive coordinator at Alabama. I expect to see just this is going to be a hard-hitting, old-school type of game. Georgia hasn't really had a real challenge lately. The best thing they've had is probably Florida early on, and then it got ugly. But Alabama struggled a little bit with Auburn, struggled a little with that option offense for about a half with the Citadel. Mississippi State gave them a bit of a run, but Alabama hasn't been tested like this. And DeAndre Baker in the secondary, he's going to be a handful. Tua cannot just throw up some of those lame ducks and get away with some of the board throws. That's what I call them, board throws. He'll test the guy every now and then. Irv Smith is the guy I think is going to be the focus of this offense in this game. Tight end for Alabama. He's going to be the guy. Georgia's going to get a bunch of their guys back on the defensive line. This one's going to be a very good one. Give me Alabama to win this one in a close one, 27-24, and both of these teams stay in the top four. I want a rematch of at least somewhere along the line. I need a rematch from that.
All right, that sounds good to me. All right, so let's go. Another top 25 alert. Fresno State versus Boise State. Number 25, Fresno. Number 19, Boise State.
Boise State just finds ways to just keep in the conversation. When I look at Brett Rippon, quarterback at Boise State, he's not special, but he just finds ways to deliver the football. He's effective, and that's what you want from them. Defensively, they're a stout bunch. Secondary needs to get a little bit better, but from what I got a chance to see them on Saturday, and they really impressed me against Utah State, who gave them a bit of a battle early. The running game is going to be important for this game. I'm taking Boise to win this one in a close one to win the Mountain West Championship. And yet again, the blue turf rules. I mean, it's a blue turf. How could you root against it?
Yeah. All right, we got another top 25 alert. We got number 21, Northwestern, versus number 6, Ohio State.
Dwayne Haskins has just obliterated every passing record Ohio State has. Over 4,000 yards through the air, 42 touchdowns, and still counting. Only 7 interceptions, but his one weakness, put a little bit of pressure in his face, and he folds a little bit. But I don't see them having any problems with this Northwestern team. I thought they would have a lot of issues with Michigan's defense, but they just ran ruckshot over them, and they looked like they were running at a different speed. Looked like a completely different animal out there. Northwestern they'll be a bit of a headache for a half, and then Ohio State will just put on they'll turn it on, and they'll say, okay, let's stop playing with these guys. And Paris Campbell is one of the guys that I really like at receiver, number 21. He'll have 1,000 yards when this game's over. He has 903. He has 11 touchdowns, 72 receptions. So he'll have another really good season. J.K. Dobbins, Mike Weber in the backfield. Dwayne Haskins, by the time this is all said and done, he'll have 50 touchdowns through the air, maybe or more. He's a very accomplished passer. He needs to come back one more year, though, to not make that leap. Give me Ohio State to blow this team out, and it's going to be very bad. They're going to put style points. This is going to be that style points game where they're going to hang like 50 on this team just to put a little bit of a stamp on this one and show these voters why they need to put them in the playoffs.
All right, and last but not least, another top 25 alert. Number 2, Clemson versus number 24, the Pitt Panthers.
Blowout alert, blowout alert, blowout alert. This game's going to be ugly. This team, the Miami Hurricanes defense is a top 3 to 5 defense in the country. they thought they were going to come into Hard Rock Stadium and run all over them. Didn't happen. They couldn't really move the ball at all. And now you're going up against, and that was against a team that couldn't move the ball and turned it over way too many times. Well, this is Clemson. They're much better than Miami. They have 4 defensive linemen that will be in the first round of the NFL draft. They also have Sunshine at quarterback. My more than likely, and this is way too early to tell, but my 2019 Heisman candidate, Travis Etienne, I've been talking about him all year long. He's already over 1,300 yards, 19 touchdowns on the ground. He's only getting better. This Clemson team is going to obliterate this Pitt team. This is going to be this is just going to be one of those games where Trevor Lawrence might not even play in the second half. The only good thing, and I think Dabo has a bit of a bone to pick with his fans because his fans were upset that they didn't beat South Carolina by even more. And he actually said, and I think it was a bit of tongue in cheek, but he said maybe he needed to go somewhere else since they don't appreciate him. You're a little bit early, Dabo. Nick Saban has not retired yet. Just a little bit longer. Just wait maybe 5 more years, and then you can go to Bama. But until then, go blow out Pitt for me.
All right, so there you have it. That's your college pick'em for the week. And since Fred is mathematically eliminated, he gave you a little more than just the jewels. But let them know, Fred, where you're going to be this Saturday when all the action is going down, man. This may be another week that's going to shift some of these college football playoff rankings. I'm hoping for that, but, if not, let's just take it how it is and let's get it on. But where you going to be?
You can catch me on Twitter, Fred Produce CSB. I'll be in front of a TV. I have multiple monitors set up. You already know I'm just going to be taking all these games in. If Alabama loses, all bets are off. I hope all kinds of crazy chaos happens. But if they don't, I just want to see good football. You already know I picked Alabama to win it all anyway, so I got to stick with my picks.
All right. And I'm me. I'm always trying to get there to be around for the people. My Saturdays get taken over all the time, so I'm always just trying to check up on everything and see what's going on, and then catching something a little later in the afternoon. But when I am in, you guys can catch me as well. Twitter, DevMacWR Sports. So look, man, I'm looking forward to a great conversation, a great report from you next week. I'm excited, so I know you're excited because this is just what you do. But everybody out there, check out everything we're doing at warroomsports.com. You can check out archive episodes of this show at warroomsports.com and the War Room Sports YouTube channel. And if you're an NFL fan, you can check Fred and I out as well on Cover 2 with McMillan and Purdue. You can catch those archive episodes in the same exact place, warroomsports.com and the War Room Sports YouTube channel. Steadfast in the war against ignorance. And we will see you chumps on top. Peace.
War Room Sports, www.warroomsports.com. What? Ain't no more to it.